Fabulous. Good morning, everybody. Just as everybody's joining, we'll just give it 10 seconds or so. Great to see you all here. Welcome. This is the first coalition meeting of 2021. Lovely to have you all here. My name's Holly Chait. I'm going to be hosting today. I'm Chief Operating Officer here at FutureDotNow. It's great to have you all here. I'm currently on secondment at FutureDotNow. So the plan for this morning, we've got an hour together. What we'll do is I'll run through a few updates from the FutureDotNow perspective. We'll do a little bit of housekeeping, and then the core of the session is we'll do a quick refresh on the strategy, because it's always helpful before we launch into the detailed content, just to reorientate people around why we're here, what we're about, so you've got that broader context. What I'll then do is hand over to Nadia Mensah, who's our workstream manager here at FutureDotNow. She's another secondee. She's from PwC. She's going to take us through the playbook and really kind of bring to life what it's all about, what it's for, how you can use it, and importantly, how we'd love you to get involved and taking it to the next level, because it's a beta version. So we're proud of it. We think it's good, but we really want your input and support to make it even better. What I'll then do is hand over to David and Leah. So David is from NCFE and Leah is from Skills Forward. And they have been doing some fabulous work around the essential digital skills, both in terms of building a qualification aligned to the government framework, but also at that very front end around baselining where your people's skills are today and providing some of those resources to help upskill them. What we'll then do at the end of the session is have an opportunity for Q&A. So in terms of a bit of housekeeping, can I ask you all to put yourselves on mute if you haven't already, just so we've got a nice clear line for the presenters. I'm sure many of the people on the call are possibly battling with homeschooling, so it's completely up to you whether you have cameras on. Please feel relaxed. We all understand the challenges at the moment, so it's an informal, relaxed call. It's for us to lead as we want to. Also encourage you to use the chat function. As I said, we'd love it to be interactive. As we get settled in and as people are still joining, say hi on the chat. We'd love to know where in the country you are. We're across UK coalition. We'd love to know where you're calling in from, and also which organisation you're from. From our sign-ups, we've got a great cross-section of large organisations. We've got charities, we've got digital skills providers, so we've got a great mix of different diverse groups on the call today. Also, as you're going through and as you're listening, please, I can hear can someone go on mute? I can hear a little bit of noise on the line. We'd love to know your questions. So as you're listening to the presenters, do have a think about the questions that you'd like to ask, whether that's about the strategy, the playbook, the work that the guys are doing at NCFE and Skills Forward, because we will have that opportunity at the end of the call. Final bit of housekeeping, our team will be posting on social. Our social channel through Twitter is at FutureDotNow UK. And if you're posting about it, we'd love to see your posts. We'd love to be tagged in them. If you use the hashtag FDN Coalition Call, it means we'll be able to pick them up and see them. So I've got 3 updates for you. So we are as you know, we're a membership organisation, and a core thing that we focus on is around growing the membership. We've actually had 5 new members sign up this year already, which is fantastic. I know some of them are on the call today, so a big warm welcome to you all. Great to have you here. And we're now at 123 members. And linked to that, the second point I'd like to raise is actually a call to action. So one of the things we ask our members to do as part of the pledge is to support us in growing the coalition. And actually what we'd love you to do is to give a bit of thought to any colleagues or other organisations or people you work with professionally who you feel actually would benefit from being part of FutureDotNow. We'd love you to introduce us. So you can do that by either reaching out to Carol Lazell or directly through our hello@future.now.uk email address. The details will go into the chat in a moment. Carol is actually on secondment with us from Nationwide, and she's been doing a fabulous job. Her role is absolutely about growing the coalition. She's developing our pipeline, and she's doing a really good job, but boy, is it a big job. And so we'd really appreciate your help and support, wherever you can help us to make those connections. So that would be fantastic. The final update point to raise before we get into the sort of meat of the session is actually around these calls. So for those of you who've been on them before, we run them the last Thursday of every month. And what we're doing with Paul, one of our team who's with us from Accenture, we're building out a program of what these calls will look like over the next 12 months or so, and thinking about the different topics that will be relevant, insightful, opportunities to bring us together as a coalition around some of those the key challenges that we're all tackling. And we'd love to know if you want to come and be involved. So if you have work that you're doing that you'd love to showcase, come and tell us, and we'd love to feature you in some of these sessions going forward. So those are the updates. What I'll now do is just take a few minutes just to orientate those of you who may or may not have heard it before around the strategy. So we are in our second year of operating. We began in October 2019. So October last year, 2020, we'd done our first year. We issued our impact report, and we were very proud of the work that we'd done and the impact that we'd achieved in our first year. But what we wanted to do was pause and reflect on being very, very specific about what we want to do and the impact we want to have, because it's actually quite a crowded marketplace and there's a lot of people operating in this space. And we wanted to be really specific about what we're doing, who we're targeting and how we're doing it. So I just wanted to share that focus with you now so you're clear from your perspective around FutureDotNow. So in terms of our ambition, for us, it's all about accelerating the essential digital skills across the UK and doing that at scale. In terms of who we're targeting, it's about working age adults. And the way we're doing it is by coordinated industry action. So that means absolutely working with employers to do this, because as a team of 7 or 8 people, we know we can't have impact at scale if it was just us. So this is absolutely something we're doing in partnership with all of you and our wider membership base. We're doing it because we know that digital skills improve individuals' employability prospects. It opens up opportunities that they might not have had access to before. We know it drives productivity, it drives competitiveness. For the UK at large, it drives economic prosperity, which is so critical to us on the back of the recent pandemic. But also it drives inclusion. And I think never more have we felt the need for that connection and ability to participate in society, and in a society that's getting increasingly digital and online. So it's about working age adults, it's about upskilling, it's about the essential digital skills, and it's doing it through employers and through industry. We've also set ourselves some bold targets for the next 3 years, and they are bold, and we might not make them, but actually we'd never make them if we didn't write them down and put the line in the sand and actually start to communicate them and be really clear with the people we're working with about what we're aiming for. So we have 4 metrics that we track. One is around reach. At the moment, we reach about just under 1 million employees through our current membership base, but the workforce in the UK is about 27 million. So there's a massive opportunity to tap into that network of employees and really work with employers to get those people upskilled, because we know from the Lloyd's data that 17 million people don't have those essential digital skills for life and work. And that's a massive gap. So increasing our reach is a key metric for us, hence the call to action earlier around help us get connected with other organisations. The second one is around actually how many of our members are delivering upskilling programs for their people. And we don't know that today. We don't have a baseline on that yet. So that's something we're working on. But in 3 years' time, we'd love it if it was the majority of our members. We're aiming for 90%. So metrics 3 and 4 are actually publicly recorded metrics that come through the Lloyd's data. So the first one, which we think is actually staggering, we know that only 23% of people, of adults, have ever had any digital skills training from their employer. 23%. So our target for 3 years' time is to really increase that up to 75%, because that feels like a no-brainer. And linked to that, the fourth metric is around actually how many people have the essential digital skills. Today, Lloyd's tells us that it's only 48% of people. We want that up at 75% in 3 years' time. So there's some of our quantitative metrics. We also, in addition to that, have metrics around our brand. We want to be recognised as the go-to partner for this. We want to really build our position in the marketplace. And we also want to work with others to establish digital upskilling as a key business priority, not just for the people who do this as a day job, but actually for FTSE 100 major organisations in the UK. And linked to that, the whole positioning around levelling up. Now, the last two things I will say, and then I'll hand over to Nadia, is you've heard our focus, you've heard our metrics. I guess the focus for us in this second year of operating is working with large employers. So that's really expanding the membership base with employers that are over 10,000 plus employees. Now, that doesn't mean we don't want to work with small businesses, because we absolutely do, but we're putting a lot of focus around the large employers to really grow that reach and impact. Later down the line, probably second half of this year and into year 3, we'll start to broaden out beyond employees to look at customers, but that will probably involve a slightly different approach, so we're still working that through. We're also looking at how and this is where the playbook fits in, once we get employers over the line and clear on the issue, we want to help people to do this, and that's our role, and that's where the playbook fits in. This is about pulling together the expertise and resources out in the marketplace, making it easy for people to navigate so that they know where to go, and we start to avoid duplication of effort and wasted time and money, and we get people motoring and accelerating on this point. So on that note, what I'm going to do is hand over to Nadia and let her take you through the playbook. Over to you, Nadia.
Great, thank you, Holly. So, hey everybody, as was mentioned earlier, my name is Nadia. I'm currently on secondment from PwC to FutureDotNow, working as a workstream manager, looking at our facilitate change workstream, looking at how we can work with employers, looking at the tools available in the marketplace, and just trying to make it a bit easier for people to be able to navigate that marketplace so that you can really use the services available to help digitally upskill your employees. And as mentioned, one of the major things that we've been working on is the Digital Skills Playbook. So I'm super excited to bring to you today the beta version, to walk you through the process, to show you where we've got to, how we got there, and more importantly, how you can get involved to really help us take it to the next level. So I'm just going to speak a little bit here about the process in terms of what we went through. So if we could have the next slide, please. So in terms of the process, I just want to say a really big thank you to the FutureDotNow Tools Working Group. So you can see some logos on screen. We have a Tools Working Group, and we've worked with them over the past few months through a series of workshops and individual one-to-one calls to really think about, okay, if we are developing a playbook, what does it need to include to really help us achieve our mission of helping employers, giving them some practical tools and collateral to help them digitally upskill their employees. So over the course of that period, we spoke to the working group members, which have a mixture of digital skills providers, employers, and even our trailblazers who have been working with us over the past few months to really think about what do we need to do, what do we need to start putting things together to make this easier for our members. So if we then go on to the next slide, we'll then talk a bit about the aim of the playbook and what we landed on. So the real aim of the playbook is to create a place online where you can access the various tips, tools, and templates that can really help you navigate your way through that journey. We're also really big on encouraging organizations to connect and learn with each other, because we know that so many people have been through it already. People have learned a lot, they've discovered a lot. So why not share with each other so that we're not recreating the wheel, and we can really learn from each other and support each other through this journey. We're not doing this by ourselves. It's so important for us to work together so that we can really start tackling that number and bringing that number down so that more people have the essential digital skills they need for life and work. So our overall aim is to create a place online where you can easily see the tools, the services available. You can access tips, templates, you know who to speak to. So it's easy for you to just dip in and be able to navigate through that way. So the playbook itself is split into 4 chapters, and we'll show you some example slides a bit later. And the first chapter is all about setting the scene. So through a lot of our conversations, we're actually hearing that some people still don't know what the essential digital skills are. And if you don't know what they are, how do you even start? So the beginning of the playbook is really about setting the scene and helping people to understand why this is important for business, why this is key, and then also giving you some nice succinct slides that you can share with others so that they can understand the wider issue at hand. And Holly alluded to this earlier. The main part of the playbook is then the digital skills employer journey. And what we've done is we've spoken to people to find out what are the key kind of steps and stages that an employer will go through when they're trying to digitally upskill their employees, and trying to frame that in a way so that we can link in the various tools and services that are out there, so that no matter what stage you are at the journey, you can pop in here, you can see what is available to help you, and that will help you move along your way. Linked into that, we've also got our Building Digital Motives piece of research. So anybody who's been linked in with us for a while now will know that we did an amazing piece of research with Oliver Wyman. And this research has really helped various organizations understand what role digital motives play in this area. So we've also repackaged that and included this in the playbook. So again, it's an easy tool and service for you to use. And then we have our digital skills directory. We know that there are some amazing things out there, but it can be quite difficult to navigate your way through and really figure out what will work best for your organization. So what we're starting to do is pull all of these things together so it's all in one place, easy for you to find, easy for you to access, and easy for you to choose what will work best for you. And you're going to hear me say this a lot as I go through. This is very much the beta version of the playbook. We haven't kind of landed where we want to land yet. We've got some really great things in there, but what we really want to do is hear from you so that we can really build this and take it to the next level. So again, we've got some really great things in there, but what we want to hear from you is how you think it's working, what else we can include, and especially if you've got anything, if you've got a case study, if you've got a template, if you've got a tool or service that you think can really help somebody else, we'd love to hear from you. And later on, I'll give you a bit more information as to how you can do that. So we'll go on to the next slide. And as I mentioned, we're just going to talk a bit about the digital skills employer journey, because as mentioned, this is kind of the key part of the playbook where most of our kind of content and help sits. So we know that not every journey is going to be the same, but through our conversations, we know that there are particular stages that a lot of people do go through. And that's very much from the really first part about identifying your starting point, being able to baseline what level of EDS do you even have within your organization, and really excited to hear from Skills Forward and NCFE later, as what they'll be speaking about ties in nicely to this point. We then thought about the fact of building a business case and developing senior support. This is something that everybody will need to do to really be able to move the dial on this. So thinking about what is out there to help people practically do this if they've never done it before. We then look into how to design your program, and then not just design your program, but also implement it. Because if you've designed an amazing program, but you're not implementing it well, then it's not going to have the success that you need it to have for us to actually tackle that number of people who don't have the essential digital skills for life and work. And then testing, improving, and scaling. We know that it's not a linear journey when it comes to digital upskilling, and that's feedback that we've got throughout this whole process. So really being able to share with each other and learn from each other in terms of how can we test what we've done, how can we actually see the impact that it's having. I think Holly mentioned earlier that it's really important to be able to tell kind of where people are and see, are they actually progressing? Are they actually developing the skills they need to develop? How we can improve what we're doing, and then more importantly, how we can scale it so that we can reach as many people as possible. So that's a bit of a whistle-stop tour into the journey. And we're now going to show you some example slides. And again, this is quite a quick overview on what we're doing, because we don't want to give you everything here. What we really want you to do is, off the back of this, go and download the playbook, have a look, use it in practice, and provide us with feedback. So as I mentioned, we can really take it to that next level. So we've got a few example slides here. And again, as I mentioned, within the playbook, you'll see information that really sets the scene, helping you to understand what the EDS is and why it should be important for you within your organization to make sure that everybody does have the essential digital skills for life and work. We've also got a quick screenshot here of one of the stages. And again, what we bring out here is some of the key questions that majority of people are asking when they get to this stage. This is step one, which talks about that very early period about how do I even identify what level of skill we have within our organization. And some of the questions we've been hearing through that are, what does digital even mean to my organization? If I don't get that right, how am I supposed to move this forward? So we've got a series of questions. And again, we'd love to hear from you to build these out and hear the questions that you faced when you started off in this journey. And then again, we have resources, tools, tips that can really help you at this early start of the journey so that you can continue moving forward. And then one of my favorite parts, the member case studies. It's amazing to hear from other people who are going through the journey with you so that you know that you're not alone and you can really take some valuable tips from them as well. So from the as the case study, for example, we heard about how they benefited hearing from Gemma Waters and Lloyd's about building senior stakeholder support. Hearing some of these things can really help you as an organization because you see what somebody else has gone through and you can adopt that and move forward as well. So we've got a few more example slides for you. And again, a further case study on the next slide from Nationwide. And again, it's just really great to hear Nationwide spoke about how the Oliver Wyman piece of research really helped them earlier on in their journey. So it's great to see the impact of what we've done so far. And then we go into a bit of a skills matrix and directory. We mentioned that there are loads of great things available in the market, but it can be really difficult to navigate your way through and figure out what works best for you at particular times. So what we're hoping to do is build this out further so that you don't have to go out and do that research yourself. It's all in one place so that you can access it, have a look through, and just try and cut out some of that time that you would spend doing all of that research because it's there for you so that you can then focus on the key issue at hand, which is making sure that your employees have the skills that they need. So that's a quick just run through some of the example slides. And now it takes me on to the last slide that I'll be speaking about today. And I think I've mentioned this a few times already, get involved. Our intention is to really further develop the playbook over the past 2-3 months. It has been amazing working with the tools working group. We don't have all the answers and we're trying to develop something for you, something that is really practical for you. And we can't do that without your support and without your input. So as it's been amazing working with the tools working group to co-create this version, we're looking to get further feedback from yourselves so that we can really take it to that next level. And whether that's you providing feedback on the playbook overall, using it in practice, or sharing any templates, resources, or even your own case study about how you've managed to get to where you are so far, we would really love to hear from you. So we're going to post a link into the chat and that will take you to the playbook page on our website where you can see the example slides, see a bit more information. But what we'd really love to do is for you to sign up so that we can reach out to you with this version of the playbook and just discuss a bit further about how you can support us to help us take it to the next level so that, again, we're developing something that is really, really useful for you. So that's enough from me for now, but we will have a Q&A session at the end as well, where again, any questions, it would be great to hear from you. And I really do hope that my inbox is flooded with requests for you to provide feedback because we do really want to take this to the next level. Great. And on that note, I will now hand back to Holly.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Nadia. I hope that gave the audience a bit of a flavour about what's in there. In the questions, we'll be able to go into a little bit more around, you know, how you actually access it, what steps you need to take, and Nadia will share the links as she said in the chat. So on that note, what I'd like to do now is just hand over to David and Leah to talk us through the work that they've been doing that I feel is really relevant to this audience and the playbook work that Nadia's talked through. So I'm quite excited about this. So over to you guys.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I've lost sound on income, but I'll be all right. Okay, hi everyone. My name's David Redden. I am from NCFE, who are a national awarding organisation and, more importantly, an educational charity. With me today, I've got Leah. I'll let Leah introduce herself.
Hi everyone. Yeah, thanks David. I'm Leah Grimshaw from Skills Forward and I'll be co-presenting with David today. So lovely to meet you and thanks for letting us join.
Okay, so like I said, we're from NCFE, we're a national awarding organisation and an educational charity. We're actually the oldest awarding organisation. We were founded in 1848. And just to give you a sense of where we come from, is the purpose we were founded was to provide numeracy and literacy qualifications to the mining communities in the northeast of England. And it's very much been the core purpose of our organisation to help those who need to climb onto that social mobility ladder and really push through. And this is why the digital skills and essential digital skills qualifications are very important for NCFE, and having that purpose to support those less fortunate in society who need that helping hand and moving forward. So at the start, I'm just going to talk about the purpose of digital skills, why we're here today. Holly and Nadia touched on a lot of the common themes that I'll touch on, but it really is important to understand why we're here. We'll go to the next slide. A director of mine told me always start with a fascinating story or an astounding fact. And I think that fact on the screen there is astounding for a country like the UK to be in this position where 11.3 million people are without the digital skills needed for everyday life. And it really hits home the challenge ahead for the country in terms of engaging people with digital skills. And there's so many complex arguments around that and how that affected, but essentially, having that basic need as a first stepping stone to providing engagement with the wider society. Now on the next slide, I've got some more stats there. These are from the Lloyds Bank UK Digital Index. Really, if you haven't already engaged with that, I would definitely recommend doing so. 2/3 of those online have not used internet to digital app to manage their health. It's not just, people often think of in terms of education, it's cruel for jobs, but a lot of this is for social and personal well-being as well. By not being able to access the internet, you're removing that access to, the 111 service online, the simple questions. You can suffer in silence without engaging these type of things. In terms of education, 27% of students in full-time education are concerned their digital skills are not good enough. So, that's the barrier for progression in education. A learner may be good at math, for example, but they haven't got the digital skills, they're going to struggle to move forward into education and really achieve all they can be. In relation to education, in the workforce, over 20% of the UK workforce do not feel their digital skills are not good enough. That's 1 in 5 of your employees feel that this is something that is not they're not comfortable how they operate. 9 million people are unable to use the internet or their devices without assistance. That's a massive challenge, and that's just today what a video conferencing tool. We take for granted that we can just access these things, but 9 million people wouldn't even be able to join us and have this conversation today, which is really a concern. And just basic stuff like opening apps, again, something a lot would take for granted, 6.5 million people can't do. So on the next slide, just to really enforce that social mobility chapter is, it's not just a workforce issue, it's not just an education issue, it's how people survive. 4 in 10 benefit claimants have very low engagement, so straight away they are disadvantaged. I think with Terry Pratchard that said being poor is expensive, and it is, because if you haven't got that digital skills, you can't go on these money saving sites. People less digitally engaged will spend average £348 more just on household bills for having got into Amazon shopping, online shopping. I know from personal experience, my wife takes me around the shop to look at appliances. I've got to take pictures of the price, and then she'll go home and search for the cheaper version online. It's all those savings that really those most in need miss out on. Likewise, those with people with impairment are 25% less likely to have skills to access devices and get online themselves, which is worrying when we're in a national lockdown at this moment in time. People are trapped in their home without that social contact. And as well, in terms of progressing and improving your social mobility, it's often linked with jobs. Not having a high paid job is a massive link to having that foundation digital skills. And Gone are the days when I was 18, many years ago now, where I used to go around my local shop on a Thursday and get the local newspaper and look at the job pages. Now on LinkedIn, one online recruitment site, all the good jobs online. And, you know, if you can't access them, you're again limiting your ability to progress in life. So move on to the next slide. So in terms of what we're going to do about this is, often Department of Education became very interested after seeing the Lloyd Digital Index report. And from their own point of view, from the government point of view, there was a requirement for moving toward online services for universal credit, for childcare allowances. And they realized they had a big problem if over a quarter of the country couldn't access the internet. How are they going to get these people online in order to claim their universal credit? So that's where back in 2016-17, they started consultations around creating a new digital skills framework for the country. So on the next slide, in 2018, they released a new basic digital skills national framework. And this is based at 2 levels, entry level and level 1. And they're both designed for adults. Entry level with no or little prior experience of using digital devices or internet, and at level 1 it's designed for adults with some experience. So it offers that progression route for those coming in at a very basic level, and those who have got some basic level, probably already in the workplace, can jump in at level 1. It's going to be assessment based. It's not going to be an exam, as you know, for GCSEs or anything like that, where it's strictly invigilated. It's more a controlled assessment, so it's a more relaxed condition, and it takes the shape of, you know, a multiple choice questions, asking them skill, action knowledge based questions, such as, you know, showing a capture image and asking them what that is and giving them 4 options. The skills based becomes a task based assessment, where it's looking at doing an online order form, a GP, it could be for a doctor's surgery, buying something online, really practical skills that you know, again, we may take for granted, but it's encouraging people to be able to use that in social media. So the areas that they looked on are on the next slide, and I've hyperlinked. I think these slides might be getting shared afterwards. I've hyperlinked the standards in the title there, but these are the 5 key areas that the cover, this qualification will cover, and they all stand out. You know, using devices and handling information. So that's using, you know, your latest phone, tablets, etc. It's how you handle information with these devices. Creating and editing. So, you know, it's taking pictures, downloading pictures, putting a filter on a picture. It's just all the different things, taking screenshots, that type of skill. Communicating, just what we're doing today. I'm on a video conference, how to access video conferencing. Again, you know, in this pandemic, we've probably all been in a situation where we've had relatives where we had to teach how to use a video conferencing. You know, from my own personal point of view, it was certainly a lengthy discussion with my parents and explain that I don't need to see a close-up of the eyes, I can move the camera away from the face, these type of things, and you know, these are covered in that area as well. Transacting is all about that online, you know, doing that online shop, doing those forms, completing, you know, universal credit sign-ups, that type of thing. And then probably most importantly, being safe and responsible online. You know, what to look out for, what's a phishing email, what's a spam, you know. Again, referring back to my parents, I still get emails sent through. Is this a legitimate email? Just like, no, don't send me these spam emails. I don't want to be spammed myself, but it's having that understanding of how to react to them. On the next slide, then, we'll go and hand over now to Leah to talk us through the Skills Forward platform initial assessment.
Oh, thanks, David. And yeah, good morning, everyone. As I mentioned, consultant for Skills Forward, I'm going to be discussing the importance of a robust assessment. Now, for anyone that's never heard of Skills Forward before today, then what are we and what do we do? Now, I will turn my camera off because I have got an unstable connection, unfortunately, due to both children at home on Zoom, and around 11 o'clock is snack time, so you may find they pop into my view. So I'm going to turn my camera off, but I'm still here and I'm going to talk you through. So next slide, please, Amy. So Skills Forward is one of the UK's leading e-learning assessment solution for functional skills, GCSEs, apprenticeships, employability and digital skills. We are a not-for-profit company and part of the NCFE group, and Skills Forward has developed a new essential digital skills diagnostic assessment based on the new national standards for essential digital skills. Last year, we celebrated our 15-year anniversary and over 2.9 million users completed their assessment with us. We have 18,000 daily users accessing the Skills Forward platform, and we are proud to share that we currently have a 97% retention rate. The new essential digital skills qualification that David's been talking about has been developed to address the knowledge gap as per the stats mentioned in David's presentation and also the stats mentioned in Holly's overview at the beginning of the presentation. We know improving digital skills are going to be the future priority within your organisations, and we want to be able to support you to bridge those gaps. But what makes Skills Forward more effective than the rest? Well, our assessment and resources in essential digital skills have been developed by the subject matter expert who created the national standards for the Department for Education. The assessment and supporting resources are aimed at adults with no or low digital skills. Our assessment pinpoints a learner's level in each of the 5 key topics, which are using devices and handling information, creating and editing, communicating, being safe and responsible online, and transacting. So why is initial assessment such an important part of any quality process? And why should you consider this within your organisation? Well, it maps in perfectly to Nadia's employer journey within the playbook. Step number 1, most important step of all, before you begin your journey, is making sure you identify your learner or colleague's starting point. Well, it's absolutely crucial to begin to understand a learner's starting point, and a robust assessment has been a requirement within education for many years to ensure quality provision and to evidence that learners have been put on the right level of programme or qualification for them. A robust assessment at the start of any learner's journey will establish the learner's level of confidence within essential digital skills, and it ensures the level of qualification is right for every single individual. The risk of not assessing your learners accurately at the beginning of their programme could lead to time wasted on learning at the wrong level, and it could lead to learners and colleagues feeling really demotivated and really disengaged because the level of learning is not accurate. As well as the more serious consequences, such as the cost implications, not being able to retain them to achieve the overall outcome you set out for them to achieve, which is predominantly to upskill them in this digital sector. Also, understanding your learner's starting point by assessing them helps you determine the learner's exact strengths, and it highlights areas of improvement between groups or individuals within your workforce. How could you possibly be able to determine the correct level of an adult learner who may not have been in education for many years, but may use digital devices every day in their current role, against an 18-year-old apprentice straight from college, but with no prior work experience? Well, without making assumptions, it would be absolutely impossible to know without assessing them in the first instance. Assessment is and should be an essential part of a fair and effective process. Next slide, please, Amy. By using Skills Forward as a solution to assessment, it allows you to assess your learner's level via the Skills Builder platform. Some of the many features of using Skills Builder as your assessment tool are that we really personalise your platform. We recognise your own brand is important to you and your learners, so we offer you a customised login page for your learners to access or your colleagues to access. We also deploy your company logo and brand across the platform. We offer initial and ongoing training, as well as allocating you a dedicated account manager here at Skills Forward to ensure you're getting the best support. From an access point of view, you and your learners have access to the platform 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it really allows and supports independent independent learning. It also gives you a great choice for your learners to be able to choose when they're learning and at what time, and it fits around their work schedule and commitments. The assessment, oh, sorry, Amy, if you could just go back a slide. Sorry. The assessment is actually multiple choice, and it has 6 questions in each of the 5 topics mentioned earlier. The questions are really interactive, even though they're multiple choice. So we give various options of being able to drop and drag. And as you can see on the screen, there's a practice skills question here, just to show you how interactive the questions are. And that's so we can really make sure the learner is engaged at all times. The assessment is also based on an algorithm. So your learner will have a starting point, and depending on how many questions they're answering correctly or incorrectly, the level that we're assessing will change throughout the assessment. So we're always working towards the individual's learning level. We're looking at assessing at foundation level, entry level, and level 1. And we have a titanic bank of assessment questions to ensure that the learner can be reassessed at any point. After every assessment, you will receive an individual report for each learner to show their baseline strengths and weaknesses in every topic. So you can see a sample of that on the screen. It's a spiky profile diagnostic report, so you can see the 5 subjects down the left-hand side, and then you can see the spiky results based on foundation, entry level, and level 1. And then it gives you an overall working towards level to make it really simple for you to see exactly the next steps for your learner. This report can then be used to support a decision around the correct level of programme or qualification for your learner. And you can also use this as part of a discussion around the pathways available and agree targets. Some learners may already be proficient across all 5 topics. They may not require the supporting resources. Next slide, please, Amy. Once a learner has completed their essential digital skills assessment, an immediate individual skills plan is created, and this contains bespoke tailored resources around the 5 topics. The dashboard for the individual skills plan uses a color-coded visual report that shows where the learner is already proficient, and we use green, where they have gaps in their knowledge, so they need some upskilling, and we use amber, and no knowledge is red. It then creates a plan for them to work through and to assess and encourage independent upskilling. The individual skills plan will signpost the learner to the resources that they need against each topic and at the right level. And our resources include over 100 hours of video tutorials, 43 comprehensive exercise books, and 132 interactive practice skills. Each topic also has a summative assessment to ensure learners' competency, and this leads to a successful completion of the individual skills plan. Learners once again have access to their individual skills plan 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so it allows for that flexible learning. And last slide, please, Amy. Once the learner has completed their individual skills plans, they will then be offered a distance-travelled assessment. By reassessing your learner, it allows you to ascertain that your learner has gained the required skills, knowledge, and understanding needed towards their qualification. It allows you to compare the learner's starting point from using their original assessment report against their distance travelled assessment. And this can be done at a click of a button via our platform. As well as the reports I have mentioned, you will also have access within the platform to over 100 built-in reports. And these can be downloaded or scheduled to hit your inbox at a particular time. This enables you as an organisation to monitor outcomes and to ensure learners are progressing and upskilling, as well as updating their competencies within the digital sector. Skills Builder provides a standardised quality approach to training all of your colleagues and learners at the right level, and it ensures a cost-effective way of supporting internal development. If you would like more information, I know we're featured in the playbook, and I know when David's finished his part of the presentation, there's an email address you can respond to. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have around what I've shown you today, or we can also have a conversation on how we can support your organisation. So thanks for listening, and I'll pass you back to David.
Okay, thanks, Leah. Okay, so next part, I'm going to talk about how the digital skills reflect with why employers should be interested with digital skills benefit. And again, Holly talked about it at the start, and just look about some of the CPD there that can help employer get off the ground and how to approach it. So just the next slide there, please, Amy. Okay, so why should employers embrace digital skills? Why should they be concerned about it, especially those who operate outside the digital sector? Well, a lack of digital talent in the right areas is hampering the progress of many companies across a vast range of industries. Having a workforce that is underprepared for the change ahead can be crippling to any organization. And most jobs require basic digital skills, including just the simple things being able to communicate via email or social media, creating and editing documents or search for information, protecting personal information. We've all had the GDPR training courses now. So it has a lot of area where the basic skills are needed. It's estimated that more than 1.2 million UK businesses are underperforming due to insufficient digital awareness and lack of necessary skills. That research was done by the European Commission. And as far back as 2015, the House of Lords stated that digital skills should be taught as a third core subject alongside the numeracy and literacy. So while there's no doubt that being adept at using digital tools and technologies is essential for everyone in the 21st century, possessing digital skills, and this is crucial, possessing the digital skills is not the same as being digitally literate. And it's a big mistake to assume that exposure to digital tools and technologies automatically equate to the knowledge of how to use these effectively. Now, with the right training, employees can use digital technology to become more productive at work, particularly in these times where so many employees are working from home, working with digital documents, creating, storing, and accessing them more efficiently than the previous printed versions. But it only works if employees know how to locate them, how to use them, and share them confidently. If they struggle, this has a knock-on effect on how employee time is spent in the workplace, and that often has consequences for business productivity. Technological advances will continue to provide new ways of work, and business will embrace these changes and will reap the benefit of a highly satisfied workforce, keen to collaborate, communicate, or use new tools that allow them to do the job more efficiently. The move to remote working, I think we're probably all in agreement, is not going to be going back to the old ways soon. People working from home, meetings happening over line, it's a new way now. We've seen how effective it can be and how efficient it can be. So using the relevant software and cloud-based application and writing and available online training is essential for any business who want to move forward. And according to Microsoft, in the next 2 decades, 90% of jobs will require some form of digital skills, and there will be a higher demand for technical skills to give businesses a competitive edge within their market. But you can't step forward, we talk about progress, you can't step forward without them basic digital skills, and that's why those essential skills are so vital in the current time. By investing in the right training for your employees, they are more likely to outperform their peers at a rival organisation, and that will help as a business staying ahead of competition. It's also important to understand digital transformation is driven by strategy, not technology. And some organisations tend to make mistakes that the focus on pieces of technology, you see it all the time, to get this really fancy pieces of equipment in. And same for NCFE, before the pandemic, we got teams in, and fast amount of colleagues didn't touch it because they didn't want to engage and didn't have the confidence to try new things. Once they got forced into it, and due to the pandemic, now everyone uses Teams, and it's really important to understand that if you're putting in any digital strategy, that you're really focusing on the staff having those digital capabilities to use them. It's also really important to value training your existing staff and improve their career prospects. Talked about social mobility at the start, but really, if they may have the higher level skills in other areas, but the lack of basic digital skills could be holding them back. So you know, you can really find some really benefits to your existing staff and help them move on. Next slide, please, Amy. So
David,
how do
and
you
just
do
in the
this?
interest of time, I'm going to ask you to just take another minute or so, and then just so we allow people an opportunity for questions, if that's all right with you.
No problem, no
Thank
problem at all, nearly there. So just in terms of, you know, how you can train your staff, the Education Training Foundation is a branch of the Department of Education, and they have a CPD program that helps learn the digital skills. So on there, I've got a chart just showing the different entry points and the next steps and how it all works. But it's online modules, bite-sized modules. I think we've got about 20 short online learning modules that you'll be able to access, and they do offer face-to-face training and online webinars as well. So it might be worth looking at that if you want to help train your staff and embed it across your business. And the next slide is just the last one, just really thinking about, you know, who are your learners, how will you engage them, what the barriers to them learning. It's not just about the digital skills, access to technology as well, and just really, you know, remembering some of these people really lack confidence in these areas. So it's not just about sticking them on an online platform and having worked through. You really have to target specific learners to be able to progress. That's the end. Sorry, we probably went on a little bit longer than planned, but you know, there's our addresses and everything. And want to chat afterwards, I'm more than happy to answer any questions and get in touch. Happy to speak to anyone who's got one more insight or more information.
Lovely. Thank you so much, David, and thank you, Leah, as well. I think it's, I mean, both of you guys, NCFE and Skills Forward, are both, you know, you're members of FutureDotNow. You're clearly, this is a core part of your business. So I think what this is really highlighting to me is that there's so much great technology and resources out there. And sometimes the trick is actually having access to that and knowing where to go. So, I mean, calls like this where we can start to showcase what different providers are putting out in the market, I hope starts to show for employers who are starting to think about this, you know, where they can go and where there are opportunities, so that we avoid recreating the wheel and wasting time and effort in an employer basis on recreating things when there's so much great technology and resources out there. I encourage you to put your questions in the chat as you might be thinking and typing away. I've got a couple of questions that have come through already. Nadia, in terms of people getting access to the playbook, how would they go about getting that if they've heard your presentation and are keen to have a bit of a look at it?
Yes, so I'm just going to post the link again in the chat function, so they can go on the chat and there will be a really short form for them to fill out, and then we'll respond to them off the back of that. The playbook is currently hosted on the website, but you do need a code to access it. So after filling out that form, then we can send that code across.
Perfect. And another one on the playbook. From your perspective, Nadia, how do you see the playbook evolving? You know, we've said that this is a beta version. Can you give just an example of some of the things we might want to see, you know, in the next version? So some of the ambitions that we've got around the playbook.
Yes, so again, more information on the various tools and services out there that can really help people through the various stages. So you'll see as part of the playbook, we've got a toolkit questionnaire that you can fill out. There's a case study questionnaire that you can fill out so that we can start sharing more of the stories of people who have really been able to progress in this area. And again, just really taking on that feedback on the key questions to ask in different areas, tools, tips, templates, anything that can really practically help somebody. We want to start building that out even more.
Fabulous. I'll just add one other point just to that around the questions. So as you have a look through the playbook, you'll see at each of the steps there's different questions that we would expect employers to want to answer. And at the moment, through the playbook, you can answer some of those questions. And I think as we start to build it out, our intention will be that through the playbook, you will be able to answer all of those questions, because there'll be different resources and experiences to draw upon. So that's another piece that I think will build into the next version. Question for Leah. If one of the things that you and David both touched on was the fact that you know, there's a big social mobility angle around this, and one of the things we learned in FutureDotNow over the past year is around the issue of data poverty and the fact that people don't have Wi-Fi at home and they don't have access, and you know, endless money to pay for data. You know, the tool that you talked about, Leah, and the assessment, How would that work for somebody if they didn't have data at home? Would they still be able to access the tool to do upskilling?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Holly. So we created a Skills Go app, which is downloadable from the App Store free of charge. Learners can log into that just like they would the main platform. The difference is that as long as they downloaded their individual skills plan whilst they were online, it allows them to work through their resources and upskill themselves offline. So the assessment itself does have to be taken online because of the algorithms. There's no getting away from that. But once they've completed the assessment, if they've got gaps in their knowledge and they need to use our resources, then absolutely. I mean, they can get to outside a McDonald's or a cafe or a bus station just to use the internet connection for a few minutes, and then they've got their individual skills plan to be working through. So it's not holding them back. They're still progressing, and when they're next online, it will just update their progress made.
Fantastic, thank you. David, question for you, if I may, around the certificate. I know in the chat we had some interest around actually people responding well to being able to demonstrate, that time and effort that they'd invested in upskilling, actually having some sort of certification or qualification to show at the end of it. I know that you and the team are working through getting that signed off with Ofqual. I wondered whether you had an idea of when the qualification might start to be available for people to kind of get involved.
Absolutely, yeah, and I agree. A certification, a sense of achievement really boosts people's confidence, and you say it all the time. It's just that little certificate saying that you've done something well. It's like, oh well, I'm not useless at that. I can do this, and it helps progress. So the qualifications, we're expecting to hear back from Ofqual in literally the next day or two. I suspect tomorrow, and we'll be putting the final touches through. So that should be coming out at the end of February, start of March.
Fantastic. Well, I'm aware of the time. We're a couple of minutes before 11, and we do like to try and finish on time. So people, I know we book it till 11:15, but that's so people have a moment to draw breath between meetings and get a cup of tea. So that's what we try and factor in a bit of contingency. So what I'll do now is just is wrap up our session for today. We've shared lots of links in the chat so that you can get in touch if this has been interesting and you'd like to learn a little bit more. In terms of looking ahead, as I mentioned, we have these calls every the last Thursday of every month, so we'd love to see you at a future one. Again, if you'd like to be involved, do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love for you to think, as we asked, about other organisations that you could perhaps connect us to. And if you're not a member, then why not? Come and join us. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to learn more about what your own aspirations and ambitions are as an organisation. We'd love you to be part of this conversation with us as we move it forward. So I'd like to say thank you very much to our speakers. Thank you for the time. Thanks for attending and for your time and attention on this call. And we look forward to seeing you at a future call.
Thank you.
Thanks all.